Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a powerful, almost counterintuitive idea that the key to massive, life altering change isn't about trying to change everything all at once. Nope. It's about finding that one small thing that somehow changes everything else. So let's start with something we can all relate to, right? We all want to get better. We set goals, we make those New Year's resolutions, but if we're being honest, research shows most of those attempts just fizzle out. So what are we doing wrong? Well, a lot of the time, the problem starts with a really basic misunderstanding of what a habit actually is. We think of it as just a behavior we repeat, but the science behind it, it tells a much more interesting and useful story. And here's the key idea. The word to focus on is impulse. You see, behavioral science tells us that a habit isn't the action itself. It's not you eating the cookie. It's the automatic urge to eat the cookie that gets triggered by a cue, like, walking into the kitchen and smelling them baking. So, if we're up against these powerful automatic impulses all day long, how are we supposed to win? Well, here's the crazy part. The solution is to stop fighting on all fronts. It's to focus all your energy on just one single habit. The best way to think about it is to picture an ancient Roman arch. You have all these massive stones, all this weight and pressure, but the entire structure is held perfectly in place by a single wedge-shaped stone right at the very top. That's the keystone. And that's exactly how a keystone habit works in our own lives. It's that one strategic change that once you lock it into place, sets off a chain reaction, a whole cascade of other good behaviors, a lot of times without you even trying. And look, this isn't just some nice-sounding metaphor. There's real science here. Research shows our brains are literally wired to succeed this way. Trying to juggle too many changes at once, it's pretty much a proven recipe for failure. And the data is crystal clear on this. I mean, studies show you are 2 to 3 times more likely to actually stick with a new habit if you make a specific plan for just one goal. When you try to do too much, you dilute your focus, you exhaust your willpower, and you usually end up right back where you started. Okay, so let's get into what might be the most incredible, real-world example of this in action. The story of how a giant aluminum company called Alcoa completely turned itself around. All right, so picture this. It's 1987. Alcoa is in big trouble, losing money, and Wall Street investors are packed into a room waiting to hear the turnaround plan from their brand new CEO, Paul O'Neill. They're all expecting to hear about layoffs and cost cutting, but O'Neill gets up to the podium, and the first thing he says is, "I want to talk to you about worker safety." You could have heard a pin drop. People were looking around, confused. Like, did he just say worker safety? The reaction wasn't just confusion, it was flat-out panic. Analysts literally ran out of the room to get to a phone to tell their clients, "Sell your Alcoa stock. Sell it now. The board has put a crazy hippie in charge and he's going to tank the company." But here's the punchline. That so-called crazy hippie knew exactly what he was doing. By focusing like a laser on that one keystone habit, worker safety, he ended up achieving unbelievable financial success. The question is, how? So how on earth does focusing on safety make a company 5 times more profitable? It sounds impossible, right? Well, to get it, we have to look at the psychology of how these keystone habits create that amazing ripple effect. So every single habit you have, whether it's good or bad, runs on this super simple 3-step loop in your brain. First, there's a cue, which is the trigger. That leads to a routine, which is the behavior itself, and that delivers a reward, which tells your brain, hey, let's do that again. And at Alcoa, this created a genius chain reaction. The keystone habit was aiming for 0 injuries. Well, to do that, you have to know about accidents the moment they happen. To do that, you need a state-of-the-art communication system. And once they had that system in place, it streamlined everything else. The result? Better efficiency, higher quality, and yeah, huge profits. One change really did change everything. But there's something even deeper going on here. This is the really powerful part. Keystone habits don't just change what we do. They have the power to change how we see ourselves. They change our identity. And that right there, that's the real magic. It's the psychological shift from I have to exercise, which feels like a chore, to I am an active person, which is just who you are. The internal conversation changes from a place of struggle, like I can't, to a place of empowerment, I am or I don't. Okay, this is such a powerful concept, so let's bring it home.
How can you actually find and build a keystone habit in your own life to create that same amazing ripple effect?
Well, here's a pretty simple 4-step way to think about it. First, you've got to find an emotionally powerful why. Not just, I want to be healthier, but I want to have the energy to run around with my kids. Then, consciously design your habit loop, create some real urgency around why this has to happen now, and finally, you have to truly believe that you can do it. And listen, this is so important. A keystone habit does not have to be some huge, monumental effort. In fact, they're usually small, simple things done with incredible consistency. Making your bed every morning, that's a classic one. It's a small win that sets a productive, orderly tone for your entire day. And remember, the name of the game is consistency, not intensity. The best way to get started is with something called minimum viable effort. You make the habit so ridiculously easy that you can't possibly say no. Don't try to floss all your teeth. Seriously. Just commit to flossing one tooth. The rest will eventually follow. And the last piece of the puzzle? You've got to be patient with yourself. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. Research suggests it takes, on average, about 66 days. That's a little over 2 months for a new behavior to get hardwired into your brain and feel truly automatic and effortless. So here's what it all boils down to. Instead of getting overwhelmed trying to fix everything at once, just pause and ask yourself this one simple, powerful question. What is the single keystone habit that, if I started doing it consistently, could lock a whole new, better future into place for me?